What's going on, everybody? My name is Oscar Hongos. I'm a photographer and web video producer, and in this video, let's review David Disposable. This is a fun little application that came to the App Store, and I really enjoyed it, so I thought I would give it a review. Alongside with it, I will give you some tips to create better images using this application, because I've been photographing for 6 years, and this is a very impressive little app. So let's get started. So first and foremost, I think the most important thing was the design, and I think the design is something that they caught really well. The only thing I don't really enjoy is the viewfinder. Like I have 20/20 vision, and guess what? The viewfinder is relatively small, so I wish they would just make the viewfinder slightly bigger, and I think that's one of my biggest problems with the application in terms of its design. Now let's move on to its ads. Of course, you need ads. Why do we need ads? Because there's a lot of infrastructure, just regular stuff, typical stuff from a free application, but the ads, they are not personalized ads, so you get some of the most bizarre and random ads. Like, you get targeted by Facebook, and you get targeted by these insurance. Like, what is all these random ads? Third, one of the things I really enjoy about the application is that it doesn't allow you to see the image until 9 a.m. in the morning. I think this is really fair and true to the Fujifilm, the disposable camera, because originally you were not able to see your pictures until you got them developed, which took like a week or so. So I really enjoy that concept, and it just allows you to take the picture and move on and just see it the next day. So now we're going to move on to the quality of the images and how to improve the images. Throughout the video, I'm going to be describing different scenarios and how to improve them. However, if there's no need to improve, just let you know. So first and foremost, objects in the early morning. I think this is where it sort of does a really good job. As you can see here, under heavy and moderate light, this is sort of in the morning with some minor objects in my legs and my shoes. It does bring down the temperature. It does add a little bit of grain, and it creates those really harsh shadows, which I really like, and it's sort of the look when you're shooting at this time of the day. So I think it does a really well put together job in there, and you can clearly tell that they're going for that Fujifilm look, sort of those green and cool tones, and it does that really well in this one section. Now let's move on to backlit objects. So what is a backlit object? This is essentially you're just lighting someone from the back, whether that be with strobes or just golden hour during sunset. And here is sort of where it gets a little bit squirrely, and that is because I think you're better off not using the flash. Here, as you can see, we're putting two pictures of two trees side to side. As you can see here, the effect, the shadows in the foreground without flash are a lot better. It looks a little bit more natural. You can see the blues in the background in the sky, and the shadows aren't as pushed as heavily. However, if you look at the next image, you see that the shadows are very crushed. The highlights are completely blown out. There's nothing to see there. Like, if you looked at it, you'd be like, why does it look so like weird? So I think this is one of those times where you have to sort of pick and choose whether you want to have a backlit object or not. But for me, it's not a look that I enjoy. The blown out highlights and the harsh shadows, it's not my style. I don't like it. That's all particularly to what you want to achieve. Next, we're going to move on to harsh light. So here, I think that it does a really good job again. And why does it do a good job? It does a good job because you can see that it's pushing the grain, it's pushing the noise reduction, and it's sort of giving you that look. Of course, it's not going to look fully like the camera. And why is that? Because we're using a digital sensor that's trying to push something digital, so zeros and ones. So once you push it just slightly too much, it looks a little bit mucky. And that moves me to my next point, which is indoor objects and just indoors in general. So this is where the camera does a really great and phenomenal job, especially when you leave the flash on. So I would highly suggest leaving the flash on. And why is that? As you can see from here in the photo, my desk looks very well lit. The grain is pushed just slightly enough. The white balance is well calibrated. You can see that it's going for that blue. No green in there, but I really like that it gets the white balance right. And next, we're going to move on to when I don't have the flash. As you can see, the white balance is completely off. It looks very pushed. The picture looks very mucky, and that's because the image is trying to be processed, and the software is trying to push it so it can rescue the image and look as natural as possible. But I don't think it's a very attractive look. Like, when it looks very mushy, you can tell, and you're like, why does it look like that? And it's because the camera sensor is not as good as it could be. Like, if you compare it to DSLR, clearly you're going to get better dynamic range, which is the ability to see. But I think when you're indoors, it does a great job, especially with the skin tones. Now we're gonna be moving on to why you should keep the flash on still, and that's because you can see this image with the paper lanterns. The lanterns, the white balance is completely off. It looks very mushy again. So again, another reason to keep the flash on, because you're looking to get that sort of cool tone along with the flash reflecting on it. So that's very, very important. And it looks slightly too warm again, something that you might not want to achieve, and it doesn't look super natural to the human eye. Sunsets in the outdoors, depending on how much light you have here, depending if you're going for the golden hour look. As you can see here, my subject, we're doing golden hour. It looks phenomenal. The light is being shot by the back of her head. This is where one of those situations where you probably don't want to have the flash on it. And why do I say this? It's because as you can see here, this image looks completely blue. It looks so over dramatized, and that's because it's a warm day, it's a warm time, and the camera is going to try to counterbalance that. So it's going to push way to the blues, and it just doesn't look pretty. So I was really surprised as how it handled the blues in the skin tone as well. Although it looks slightly too blue, it's still manageable. It still gives you that Fujifilm look. And I think this is one of those places where you should not be having the flash on, just depending on the situation, whether it's cloudy or it's sunny. But somewhere I definitely would not want to have the flash on, because during golden hour, it tends to be very warm. And if you decide to use the flash, it's just going to try to counterbalance it, and it's going to be over dramatized. Blue hour, and I was very surprised here, because as you can see here by both of the images look respectable. They both look really well put together. The grain isn't over pushed. It doesn't look very mucky. This is where I was very surprised, because it does a really well job. It keeps everything intact. It gives you the grain. It gives you the good skin tones. If I had to choose between two of them, I really enjoy the one more with flash, and that's because you can see the reds in the skin, which is a little bit more natural. I was heavily surprised in this aspect. So I think if you're shooting during blue hour, I would highly suggest keeping the flash on and sort of using your own eye in order to decide whether, this is like slightly too blue, so I need to have the flash on so I can get the right colors, and it desaturates it correctly, and they're pushing the grain to a decent amount so it doesn't look mucky. And I would highly suggest having the flash off if where you're at is way too yellow, because it'll try to overcompensate. So in terms of pricing for the prints, I think that the prints are way too expensive. So if we look here, like the pricing for 25 print is $24. That's super overpriced. That's like $1 a picture. I think you can get a much better deal on like Walgreens or like Adorama or somewhere along those lines. But I definitely do not enjoy that aspect. It's just really expensive to print. If you have your own printer at home, I feel like you could do a much better job. But that's about it. Printing is bad. Wish they had some sort of deal with some company so it would be less expensive. So that's it. Do I think that this application is going to revolutionize everything within the camera industry? No, not really. It's a fun little app. Will it replace the disposable camera? No, I don't think so, but it's great for what it does. It's really fun. I enjoy the concept and the product. If there were slight better tweaks to it, especially with the viewfinder, I feel like I would enjoy it more. But if you got it, it's free. So that's it. Really enjoy the app. 4.20 out of 5, and I wish they just had a little bit more improvements. I thank you so much for your time and your attention. My name is Azmi Hongos, and I'll catch you in the next one.